Hello, hello. Welcome, Choose Life Nation. My name is Dallas Cohen, the Rebound Coach, and I am so glad that you're here today. You are watching or listening to another episode of thereboundcoach.com. I'm Dallas Cohen, the Rebound Coach, and your host for this evening. I am so glad that you're here today. If this is your first time sharing virtual space with me, and you're like, who is this person? Why am I here? I believe there's a divine appointment as to why you're here. There's a lot of voices on the internet. There's a lot of people talking at you, and there's a lot of places to spend your time. So, number one, I want to say thank you for spending your time here with me in this little corner of the internet. And if you've never heard of a rebound coach before, my name is Dallas. I'm a life coach, and I'm a particular kind of life coach. I help high achieving women of faith who've been through betrayal, trauma, or abuse reclaim territory in their relationship with themselves. We're actually going to talk about that today. And today's topic of the Rebound Coach Live is your heart in a war? You might be like, what? No, of course not. No. But it might be. And having your heart in a war honestly might be more common than you think. And just to give you a little bit of information, if you have not been here before, if this is your first time on the Rebound Coach Live or someone forwarded you this video, I want to say thanks for coming. I want to tell you a little bit about myself and how it is that we got here to this moment together. Here's a headline, y'all. I was married 10 years to a man who wanted me dead, and he almost had the chance to carry out his wish. Actually, he did have the chance. He almost got to carry out his wish. I will say that. That didn't make a lot of sense for someone like me. I was raised in a good Christian home. I had two parents that loved God, loved each other, were married for a lifetime. And the statistics are supposed to say you're not supposed to have any trouble if that happens to you. You have two good, godly parents that stay married. Nothing bad is supposed to happen, right? No, but that's what they tell you. Anyway, my parents were a great example of a good, loving marriage. At the same time, I was molested from the time I was 8 to the time I was 16, and that radically affected how I saw myself, because those are identity forming years, how I related to God in a household of faith, and how I related to men. And so fast forward, when I met the man that I married and eventually divorced, there were definitely red flags. I know some people have abusive marriages and they say, I didn't know this was coming. It was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He was all sweet and wonderful. And then kablam. That's not my story. There were definitely red flags. Now, I didn't know he would be an adulterer. I didn't know some things, but I knew some other things, right? And so there were reasons for me not to get married. At the same time, as a woman of faith, I took a big decision like that to God, and I believed God's answer was yes. And because I believed that was God's answer, I believed that my yes would work out, that, somehow we'd be okay. We'd outlast it. We'd overcome it. God would swoop in and save the day and change things, and we'd end out victorious. And God did swoop in and save the day and change things, just not in the way that I had intended. We had gotten into this cycle of what I call coping and crisis. So this is where it's never really good. You don't make it to good. You're coping, and you kind of got this house of cards very carefully put up, and any wind could knock it down, and you're like fiercely protecting your house of cards, and you just want to make sure it's all going to be okay. And you're walking on eggshells, hoping not to upset him, and trying to follow all of his rules so he's pleased with you. And somehow you never follow them all the way, and it never quite works out. But you're trying, right? And you're doing that coping dance, and you're surviving every day. And then there's some crisis that blows it all up. And all the cards are on the floor, and everything's a mess. And you're very carefully trying to piece it back together again. And that was our cycle, and that was my life for the better part of 9 years, over 9 years, almost 10 years, when things kind of came to a head, end of 2019, beginning of 2020, which was, like 4 years ago now. Everything came to a head. He had left for another woman. He had been a serial adulterer the whole time, but he decided to leave for another woman at that point. And I found out probably the day after he left that he and that woman had been plotting my murder, and had been for months by the time I found out about it. So needless to say, kind of the record scratches. If you're watching the movie, it's the sound, like everything comes to a halt, and you're kind of contemplating all of your life choices and how in the world did I end up here? How in the world is this my life? And what in God's name am I about to do now? What can I do? What is there to do? And I had asked some pretty serious questions. And by the grace of God, by the absolute grace of God, by the absolute grace of God, a series of divine events happened. Like, I can't even tell you how supernatural it all was. I'm alive. My children are with me. We're safe. We're growing. We're unlearning and relearning. And it's pretty darn phenomenal. So out of that entire season of life, I wrote a book. The book is called I Choose Life, because I could allow the identity that my ex-husband had planned for me, and quite frankly, the one I agreed to, tell me who I was, tell me how I was allowed to worship God, how I was allowed to express my faith, how I was allowed to express my femininity, tell me how many days I had left on the planet, because he had a death date for me. I could let that tell me who I was, or I could choose life. So that's the name of the book, I Choose Life. Rewrite your love story and change your legacy. And we're not just talking about your romantic love story, although that's definitely part of it, but going back further, how you learned to love and how you learned to be loved, which is something that happened long before you got into a romantic situation. And you can go back and rewrite that. That's what the answers in this book are. It is my story. So if you like a good old fashioned Law and Order, SVU, like if that's your jam, this is for you. But if you have experienced, if anything in my story resonates with yours, this is for you. And if there's someone that you care about that you feel like might be going through any kind of abuse situation at all, domestic violence, any other kinds of abuse, this book is for them. You can get yourself a copy of this book at thereboundcoach.com/book. That is thereboundcoach.com/book. You can get one of these hard copies and I will sign it for you and mail it out to you, or you can get an ebook copy, or you can get one through Amazon. All of that information is at thereboundcoach.com/book. Okay, so is your heart in a war? What? I'm a lover, not a fighter. Our hearts might be in a war. They actually might be. And when I started the hour, I told you, well, when I started the show, I told you that I help high achieving women of faith who've lived through betrayal, trauma, or abuse reclaim territory in their relationship with themselves. But what exactly does that mean? Reclaim territory. What am I reclaiming? Did I claim it the first time? Like, what does that mean? So I'm just going to give you 3 points to think about. And if you lived through betrayal, trauma, or abuse, I can guarantee you have lost ground. So what does that mean? If you're taking notes, there's 3 things I want you to think about for you to tell yourself if your heart is in a war. Number 1, what territory have you lost? So what are some examples of that? What is heart territory that you might have lost in your years? What have you might have lost in abuse? So if you think about children and little kids, okay, so think about like toddler kids. Most of them far and away, most of them are pretty bold, they're confident, they're excited about life, they are excited to explore, they have a perspective of good ahead, they're pretty me-centric also, right? How we lost those things at some point. We became less confident than we were at 3 years old, 4 years old, or 5 years old, right? We have less boldness. You know, kids have no filter, right? They say exactly what they mean. They say exactly what they mean because they're just living authentically, right? What happened to our authenticity? We've exchanged that for safety, for protocol, for whatever, for people pleasing. We've exchanged that boldness, that authenticity, right? If they had a question, they would ask it, right? If it didn't make sense when they saw mom talking to the teacher and it didn't make sense versus what happened at home, they'd be like, hey, well, didn't you say that you were going to do this? Right? Didn't you have that bad opinion of the teacher? Right? Why do they do that? And they're not trying to bust you out. They're living authentically. But we stopped living authentically somewhere along the way. We stopped saying what we meant and meaning what we said. And we just said things that we thought we were supposed to say somewhere along the way. Kids love themselves almost too much, right? They're egocentric. The world revolves around them, their needs, their wants, right? Now we know there's a balance, okay? When you become become an adult, you put childish things aside. It includes that, right? But that whole idea of I love myself and I'm not ashamed of that, that's a piece of territory that gets lost, okay? Also, autonomy and will. Do you know why the twos are terrible? Why they're terrible twos? Because the kids are trying to explore their world and they're getting into things that are not safe, right? And they learn how to say, no, put that down. No, take that out of your mouth. No, right? They're exercising their will. They're exercising their autonomy. Now, it's rude to a parent, right? And the parent has to somehow communicate like, hey, that's not how you talk to mom or dad, right? But that, no, I'm not going to do that. I want to do this. Being really clear about what it is you want, that is territory that gets lost when people are abused because they somehow learned how to appease their abusers. They learned how to people please. They learned how to meet the expectations of others. And so when they don't want to do something, it is common for them to do it anyway, because that's what's going to please this other person. That's what's going to make it smooth. They're going to like me if I do this, right? The 2-year-old does not give a flying flip if you like them or not. No, right? Those are pieces of territory, literal pieces of territory that we lose. And so, number one, what territory have you lost? Feel free, if you're watching this on the replay, put it in the comments. What territory have you lost? Hey, I've lost my confidence over the years. I've lost my will, my autonomy. I've lost my self-love. I've lost my authenticity. You know, I'm not being honest. I'm not presenting myself as myself. I'm presenting myself as who I think someone else wants me to be. Okay, so what territory have you lost? Number two, why? I'm looking at my notes like, what does this say? How did you lose it? Okay, so if we recognize that what's missing that used to be there, okay, how did you lose it? Who's there? What happened? And how do you know that, right? Like I'm 40, 50, 60 years old, 70 years old, 80 years old, right? I don't know the exact moment. That's okay. Think about what your first mind, like the first thing you remember about being afraid, right? Or feeling unsafe. That's something a lot of abuse survivors feel. They feel consistently unsafe. Like there's not a moment, there's not a time, there's not a person, a place, or a thing that they feel fully safe. You know, they always just feel uneasy. Okay. Think about the first time that happened. Who was there? What happened? Right? That helps you know where the ground was lost. That helps you know who took over that piece of territory. And the beauty of it is when you know who was there, who took that territory, you know how to regain it. Okay. Number 3. So number 1 was, what territory have you lost? Number 2, how did you lose it? What happened? Who was there? Number 3, if you do nothing, what happens next? Now, I told you earlier about coping and crisis, and I told you about walking on eggshells, and I told you about holding up my house of cards to make sure that everything looked good and had structure and was okay, right? I told you about that. Here's what we know. We're always either going forward or we're going backwards. We're never just maintaining. We don't just maintain. We're either you're gaining ground or you're losing ground. You're getting better or you're getting worse. You're getting stronger or you're getting weaker. You're going up or you're going down. You're going forward or you're going backwards. There is no in between and there's no staying put. Now, you might say, well, I'm not taking any action. Inaction is also action. Not making a decision is also a decision. Okay, that's also a decision. And if you're not intentionally moving forward, you are by default moving backwards. So we will ask again, if you do nothing about this, you say, yeah, it does seem like my heart's been in a war. It does seem like I've lost territory over the years of my life. I can pinpoint who was there when different pieces of myself were lost. Okay, I've done all that. I can identify all of those things. Okay, so what are you going to do about it? And you might be like, what am I supposed to do about it? Take action. Take action. I have a few opportunities for you to take action with. Okay? If you are in the Tampa Bay area, anywhere in the Tampa Bay area, or anywhere in the Florida area, this central Florida, the entire middle of the state, if you're anywhere in that direction, I'm going to highly encourage you to come see me. I'm holding a wonderful event called A Day of Healing Safe Emotions. It's coming up this Saturday. It's part of a nationwide movement, a worldwide movement actually, about creating a safe place for people to express their emotions. We get so busy, and I know for myself, it can feel pretty breathless going from task to task, from thing to thing, and never feeling like you have any breaks. And you just go and go and go until you pass out and to go to sleep. And then you get up and run some more. And you're going to school, you're taking kids to school, you're going to church, you're doing your volunteer work, whatever it is you do, like it's a breathless pace. And you never get to stop and process. Life comes with stuff, man. Like life comes with stuff. And if you don't get to process that, it doesn't leave you just because you keep moving. Like it catches up with you in ways you don't like. So you have to be able to release. A Day of Healing Safe Emotions is just that. It's an opportunity to release. And it's coming up really soon. You can find out information on that at, and I'm looking for my little banner. There it is. thereboundcoach.com/events. thereboundcoach.com/events. Now, you might be like, well, Dallas, I do not live in that area, or I have this other thing I have to do on Saturday and I can't go be with you and release. Okay. We have something special going on, and I'm actually going to let Video Dallas tell you about it and not this Video Dallas. One moment. I just wanted to give you a heads up about something that's coming up, because I do not want you to later on come to me and say, excuse me, why didn't you tell me about this? So I don't know if it's for you or not, and whatever you do with this information is totally up to you, but I just wanted to make sure you were invited. So look, I'm sure everything in your life is great. You've survived some trauma. You must be doing really well, and you don't have any communication problems, and your relationships are going really smoothly, and probably, everything's amazing. You're just climbing and doing well for your dreams. But that's certainly not the case for a lot of women. Many women who have survived betrayal, trauma, or abuse are really struggling, and they might be surviving. They're going to work every day. They're taking care of kids every day, but in their heart, they're limited, and they're not really able to move forward the way they want to. They're not able to build the confidence they want. They're not able to speak with authority that they know that they have. And so you might know of a few people who are looking to improve their relationship with themselves, to gain more confidence, to feel strong in their skin, to receive love in a better way, to have a lot more fun in their days, like Cheryl. Cheryl coached with the Rebound Coach, and before doing that, she had trouble making boundaries. She had a house guest that would not leave, and she couldn't make her leave, and was miserable at work, and not doing so well in her communication with her husband. After coaching with me, the house guest is gone. She's no longer miserable in her work. She's doing things that matter to her. She's standing in her authority and in her calling as an author, which is pretty amazing. And so she coached with me one-on-one, but I am opening a group coaching experience called Reclaim. And it is all about reclaiming territory in your relationship with yourself. If you've been through betrayal, trauma, or abuse and want to be whole and continue to be whole, you may have done some work before, you may have hit a plateau and just like, why isn't this getting any better? This is the time for you. I want to give you a first shot because we only have 10 spots, and we don't have 10 spots anymore. So I want to give you an opportunity to sign up. Okay, there's a whole group of us that are going to walk in bigger freedom. We're going to be able to set boundaries where we need to set boundaries, and we're going to get more fruitfulness out of the relationships that matter to us. All right, so maybe that's you, and maybe it's someone you know, and maybe it's not you at all. But just in case you'd like to make those improvements in your life in 2024, your next step is going to thereboundcoach.com and signing up for Reclaim, the 90-day group coaching experience. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to chat with you. Talk to you later. Bye. Okay, so you saw video, Dal. She told you about this. You can go to thereboundcoach.com/rebound, thereboundcoach.com/rebound, and you can read about the 3-month, 90-day group coaching experience called Reclaim. And it literally is that. We're reclaiming territory in relationship with self. There's a lot of fun that goes with it. There's an opportunity to stay accountable with a group of ladies who are going in the same direction you are. We have a free bonus journal that comes along with it, and a lot of fun surprises. So you don't want to miss out. Check out the reboundcoach.com/rebound. We start in a few weeks. We start this month, which is exciting. And it's going to be amazing. And I'm really looking forward to sharing and pouring out with a few women who are dedicated to their recovery. And so the reboundcoach.com/rebound is where you hear about that. Now, I've got one more opportunity for you. If you've been hanging out here any length of time, you know about Sanctuary Experience. It's coming up next month, literally a month from now, March 8th, 9th, and 10th. We're in Largo, Florida this year. We're very close to the beach. It's going to be a fabulous time. And of course, I'm not going to tell you about it. Janice is going to tell you about it. Check this out.
So I wasn't quite sure what to expect. My name is Janice, and I was invited here by Dallas, and I came here broken and unsure and very disconnected to my King. And ever since I got here, and I've been able to be a part of a group with ladies that share similarities and heart stories and their own experiences. It's been absolutely amazing. Not only have I been able to solidify, or not me, but allow the King to woo me back into his love chamber and bring me back to him. This has been the most amazing experience that I've ever had in my adulthood, and I'm so thankful to be here, and this is not going to be my last time. And whoever's watching, if you ever have the opportunity to have an experience to be here and be a part of the sanctuary, I recommend it with all of my heart to come and just sit before your King and just let him love you all over again.
That's one of my favorite testimonies. I really enjoy Janice sharing her testimony. And it's everything she said. It's everything she said. Someone else who experienced sanctuary, her name is Jamie. One of the things she said about it just really stuck out to me. She says, if you love yourself, prove it. Prove it. We say a lot about self-love in our culture today, and what most people mean when they say that is self-comfort. They mean, bubble baths and chocolates and massages and movie days. Now, all of those are beautiful things to do. Not knocking any of that. That is self-comfort. It is not the same as self-love. Self-love is doing the hard thing because it's the better thing for you. If you think about how you love your children, and sometimes loving your children is giving them treats and rewards and lovely things and fun experiences. And sometimes, a lot of times, loving your children is, hey, no, you can't have that. Hey, no, you can't do that. Hey, no, you need to put that down. We are going on vacation, right? Like we are, well, no, I want to do this other thing. Nope. We're going over here to see your aunt so-and-so. I don't want to see aunt so-and-so. But we know as a parent, those experiences last longer than, the latest whatever at the mall, the latest whatever on the movies. So my point is self-love is taking action, taking difficult action, because it's going to mean the better. And sanctuary is coming up really soon. It's 3 days. For a lot of you, that means you'd have to travel. You'd have to have childcare arrangements. You'd have to pay for a plane ticket, and you have to pay your sanctuary ticket. And that may seem like, oh gosh, I have to do stuff I wasn't expecting. If you want what you've never had, you'll need to do something you've never done. And this is an opportunity to literally repair your soul. Literally repair your soul. Your next step is going to the reboundcoach.com/sanctuary and signing up for Sanctuary Experience. That's it, guys. If your heart's in a war, I gave you the 3 steps to recover. Let me know in the comments what stood out to you. Let me know in the comments what you're going to take and apply it to your life. Thank you so much for spending time with me. And until next time, choose life.